Okay, well, welcome to Chapter 2-9. We're going to be talking about percents today. Okay, the objective for today is to solve percent problems using proportions and to solve percent problems using percent equations. Okay, there's no academic standard again today. Okay, essential understanding: you can solve problems that deal with percents using percent proportions or the percent equation. So we're going to look at two different methods. Okay, the first one is the percent proportion, which is basically what we've been doing the last couple of days. Okay, we're going to be talking about setting up proportions. Okay, you can represent A is P percent of B using the percent proportion shown below. And the proportion B is the base and A is the part of the base. Okay, so the problem is set up as A over B equals P over 100. A being the part, okay, B being the base, and then P being the percent. Now the other way to read this, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the words, is over of. So they say A is. That goes with the is part. Then you have P, which is your percent, which is easy. That's just the percent part. Okay, and then you have the of B. Okay, so try to color code them there, of B. So the is, which is the red, is going to be like your A. The of, which is the black here, is your B. And then the percent is, what your percent value is. Okay, so you need to think about this as is over of. You hear that a lot. That's the way we're going to refer to it. Is over of equals percent, and it's always over 100 because there's percents are always out of 100%. Okay, is over of equals P over 100. So when we look at this problem, the thing we want to recognize is what are we missing. So we have what percent of 56 is 42. So when you read this, we have of 56 and then we have is 42. So what's the missing piece? Well, we're asking what percent. So when we go set up the problem and we do the is over of equals the P over 100. Again, the 100 is always over 100, so that's the part you can always fill in. Now what's the percent? Well, we don't know, so that's our P. So that means this size should be filled in. Of 56, well, that means 56 is on the bottom with the of. Is 42 is the is, so that's on top. And just like proportions, what are we going to do? Cross multiply. Okay, you should probably be tired of hearing that said. Okay, we're going to use cross products. Well, when we do this problem, you're going to take 4,200. Again, you can take the shortcut by just multiplying this fraction by 100. And then that equals 100 times 42. That's what you get, 56 times P. And again, we're just going to divide by 56. Which is going to be really what we would have done before. 42 times 100 divided by 56. Okay, this cancels to give us P. 4,200 divided by 56. Okay, we crank that out long division. Okay, what we're going to get here is 75. 75 equals P, which means we're talking 75%. And there's your answer. And again, we can work that out by plugging in the P. And you could simplify this fraction, they should be equal. You could do cross products, and really you should have 4,200 equals 4,200. Okay, so you can check the work on that. And let you go ahead and do that, and then I'll check that tomorrow. Okay, so when we get to the percent equation, okay, so as we go to the percent equation, we have you can represent A as P percent of B using the percent equation. In the equation, A is the part and B is the base. So the same stuff. Okay, again, we said it was is over of equals percent over 100. Okay, in that last problem, we talked about percent as being as a whole number. In this problem, our percent is actually going to be as a decimal. So you want to note this, that percent in the equation is a decimal. So make sure you write that in somewhere. Okay, so that means when we have this P percent, it needs to be as a decimal percent. Okay, if you think about it, is over of, or a over b, we solve for is by multiplying both sides times of. If you think about this, it was is over of. What we did was multiply of this side and this side, which means that that cancels and you get gets the is equals percent times of. Okay, so we look at example 2 here. It says what percent of 90 is 76.5? Okay, again, what percent? So that's our missing piece. So that means when we write our equation, we have P times, and it was times of, so we have 90, because that was our of 90, is 76.5. So is, can we think about it as equals 76.5. Well, this one's a one-step problem. We're going to divide both sides by 90 to get P by itself. Okay, when we do that, this cancels to give us P. 76.5 divided by 90 gives you 0.85. Well, does that mean 0.85%? No, not really, because this is as a decimal. Okay, we need to move this decimal 2 spots or multiply it by 100, which means that our percent is 85%. Okay, so it's just kind of like figuring out your grade. You had 0.85, it means you had an 85%. Okay, that's how you would work that problem out. Okay, so we look at this problem here. It says 75% of what number is 77? So again, in this case, if we're finding the missing value, we're going to look at it and say, well, what do we have? First off, they gave us 75%. So we do have the percent. The question is, of what number? So there's the of what number, and then there's the is 77. So we have the is. Now, since we're finding the missing piece, you can pick the method you want. And I'll do both real quick here. We have 77%. So if we go the percent proportion, 77 as the whole number. So there's a 77. It's always over 100. 77%. Is goes on top, so 77. Of is on the bottom, so we'll call that B. We're going to cross multiply just like before. Okay, do the cross products. And in this problem we have 77 times 100 equals 77 times B. Well, this a lot of common sense here. We have 77, we have 77. So what does B have to be? Well, probably has to be 100, but let's make sure. We're going to divide by 77 to both sides. And if you have 77 over 77, those cancel to give you 100. 77 over 77 cancel to give you B, which means B is 100. Well, if we try the other problem, okay, let's do the percent problem, which is, so that's the 77 equals percent, which is 77%, but that's not as a decimal. Okay, 77% needs to be changed to a decimal, which means we got to go backwards, which means that this is 0.77 as a decimal. Okay, it needs to be as a decimal. So even if it's not, if it's 7.7, you still got to move that back. Okay, times, again, the of, which we'll call B again, because we just used the last problem. And the same steps. I'm going to divide by 0.77. And when we divide, that side cancels, but the right side, or excuse me, left side doesn't. 77 over 0.77 ends up being 100. So we get B equals 100. And we've just proven that. Okay, so of is the 100. That's the base. So 77 is part of 100. Okay, we're going to stop there. We'll come back and we'll talk more about percents in the next section.